I threw the rest of the resumes in the garbage. I walked out, said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. This is senior year of college. Called up my mom, said it went absolutely fantastic. And then I just, boom, went to streaming. And I was like, I'm going all in.
How did streaming become a thing for you? Like, how did you start?
Yeah, dude. So I got into gaming when I was like super young. I mean, I was there from the beginning, Sega Dreamcast, and I grew up with a group of friends and we would all just game all the time. And so when we got into World of Warcraft and vanilla, we were there at the start of Justin TV and Xfire. Like I knew I wanted to be a streamer when I was super, super young, but I didn't have the laptop or like the computer stuff to do it. And then, time was going on, life was going on, and I was still gaming and still watching streams. It was up until Soda Poppin' and Mop. That was like the turning point where I was like, I want to do this. Like when I saw Soda and what he was doing in Missa Pandaria and like just what he was doing in the life that was like living and how much fun it looked, that was like the real precursor to me. I was like, I really, really want to do this. And so then from there, I asked my mom, I begged my mom for a laptop, and then I started streaming. And so it was 2016. I had my 10-year anniversary in March, 10 years.
Wow.
And to everyone that wanted to be a streamer, I didn't end up doing really well, like starting to kind of like gain traction, maybe like at the 7-year mark. And I've been doing my RP stuff for way longer. And it took the right timing and the right moment and the right things to all come together for people to want that content and my content to also evolve. When you go back to my original RPs, they're nowhere near. I've matured so much. And even now, I'm even noticing still more. Like Taku's always talking to me about like, how to improve and whatnot. And so it's been a very, very long journey. I instantly knew back when I was a kid watching all the players like Rekful, Sea-Doo. I was on BG9 at the time and seeing all of the arena players and the arena scene flourishing and people on Xfire and Justin TV, everyone streaming. I was like, this is what I was going to want to do. And then Soda just really solidified it because the whole game changed. And then I committed my 20s. I committed my whole 20s to it. And it takes a long time. And I'm very, very happy with how things planned out. Very happy.
And in those 10 years, what was the moment that made you feel like, oh, wow, I can do this, right? Because you said 7 years it took until you kind of broke through, but what did that feel like? Because
right in the beginning,
I was
delusional right in the beginning. I went to a job fair that my mom got her job at, and she stayed with that company for like over 30 years. And I walked in and I gave the most crappiest elevator pitch to the company. She gave me a warm lead to her company. The guy knew that I was going there. I handed him my resume, shaking, and I gave him the worst kind of pitch of who I am. Dude, I walked away from that. I threw the rest of the resumes in the garbage. I walked out, said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. This is senior year of college. Called up my mom, said it went absolutely fantastic. And then I just, boom, went to streaming. And I was like, I'm going all in. And I literally just struggled fully, horribly, fully, living with my friend, streaming in his closet, living on a couch. I've done everything. I have done everything to just try to make it. So from the very beginning, I just told myself, this is what I'm going to do. And even if I make all the money in the world, I would just go back and do this. So then I just told myself, well, I'm just going to do this then. And whatever happens ends up happening, but at least I'm doing what I want to do. So whether I was poor or rich, it just didn't matter. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not going to get this time back anyways. So I'm 32 in September. I've now had 10 years of streaming experience, knowledge, growth, who I am, how do I express myself, experiences, playing different games, meeting people, all this time to kind of like, incubate and grow. And so from the beginning, I just jumped in. I just said, I'm doing it. And it's just going to happen. And if it doesn't, I just do it because I love it anyways.
It's like you're going on this, what seems like an impossible journey, but because you love it, it makes it somewhat makes it a lot easier. You don't mind whatever happens because it's coming. I can feel it, dude. I'm your same age. So like in my 20s, I did the same. I wanted to get into games, first into tech,
Mhm.
studied UX, became a product manager, grinded like a series of like junior PM jobs, barely getting paid, went to EA, was a contractor where like they could just fire me like that. And
Mhm.
then slowly the ball just starts rolling and you get one thing and then one thing. And it's like you start looking back and thinking, look how far I've come. I can keep going. Like it reinforces it.
Yes.
And it has to come from within. Like that's when
Yeah.
everyone talks about like cheesiness, like, oh, you need to love what you do. It's like a real superpower to like be able to
It is.
really like tap that in. I can sense that from you,
It
man, which is
is.
sick.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what are your influences then? Because like when I first watched you, I loved like your anime, like like the road between Kara and Duskwood, and like you would like approach like one-on-ones on the bridge, and like you did
Mhm.
this like anime role play, and I was with my flatmate. I'm like, dude, this guy is hilarious. I just remember I
Mhm.
fell in with that. What are your influences as a streamer? Like how did you? Because you're very unique in a lot of different ways. Like you're very RP, but like you do have your style.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we grew up with a group of friends and everything we did, we were anime. Like everything we did when we're playing Super Smash Brothers, we're not just playing Super Smash Brothers, right? We're screaming at each other. Like when you're playing Captain Falco, you're giving that shout out. You know what I'm saying? You're like, Falco punch. It's like, ah, like everything we were doing. If it's freaking Samus charging up the blast, everything we always did, we were animated. And that's kind of like just how we were. If we were out in the woods playing make believe Lord of the Rings, we're animated. Everything we always do, we were animated. And so whenever I played, it was just natural. It was just always, even if I'm alone gaming in the kitchen with an ice pack on my laptop in the kitchen, I am just talking to myself like I was as if I was streaming. And my mom was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" That's just how it was. And obviously, there are people that have inspired me, right? All the Machinimas, every single rogue. I've rogue Machinimas like Acreos, Buddhist, Mexico, Kenyan, Unmercy, Bizzlesnaff, Warcraft movies, Mercator, all of these guys, they they like created their characters in these MMOs to actually be anime characters or superheroes, whichever you want to, identify with. And I related to that. I grew up, watching anime and these TV shows as well. And that's what made me so compelled to MMOs because it's like, wait a second, you can kind of like low key be like a Goku in this game. Like I looked at Kenyan and Acreos as if they're Goku. Like this is crazy. Or Superman. Um, and so watching those guys and then also just being animated with our friends and when we're playing World of Warcraft's combat is also so fluid and it just kind of ended up happening. Um, and I don't know where this whole kind of off the cuff ability to create storytelling comes from. It just generates in my mind. Like if I see someone's name, I'm I'm like so particular with aesthetics that like when I always look at a character's portrait and their name and the cohesiveness of that. And I put a lot of like influence on people's characters to their portrait names. I feel something from it. So when I see that, I can instantly create a story based off of something like that. And then my mind just goes crazy. Um, but it really is those early day machinimas and how much of a influential role. I mean, not to rant too much, but Acreos made a website called roguerogue.com, and on there was a top 100 list of music. This random guy that I was watching doing vanilla TBC and Wrath the Lich King PvP opened my eyes up to trance music in the most golden era of like 2011 to 2013. If I never played World of Warcraft, I might have never experienced that type of music. I never would have experienced going to festivals before they went mainstream. These guys and these machinimas have influenced me far beyond just a little like 8-minute piece of entertainment. They've shown me cinematography, meanings, philosophies. They've showed me music genres that I've never heard before. And so it just like cultivated so much inspiration and emotion. Even now, there's so much emotion. And so I just was kind of affected a little bit more watching it because MMOs, you can kind of be the Superman. And when I'm just a kid, single house mom playing on a laptop, just kind of going to school, it's kind of like, whoa, I can be this hero. I can maybe become this hero. Like, bro, people at the top of the WoW ladder in Wrath of the Lich King, they were heroes. You know, they were actual heroes. Like people would think so highly and just be like, oh my God, these people are just so incredible. So it just all cycled into each other. Um, that's a little bit on how that all works. I got a
Oh
little
man.
lost in tangent, but
No, don't
yeah.
worry. Please rant away. Look, for me, I think humans at our core, we're storytelling creatures. Like we are story driven. Everything we've done, everything we know, the stories we tell, the fantasies, everything comes from a story. And I think when you start taking music and characters and it becomes so multidimensional that I'm fascinated with it because you're clearly incredibly talented and have like and I mean it when I'm saying I'm not just saying it, like you really are, and you have like this affinity towards um role play and storytelling and combining elements of it to craft this idea in your head. But I also think that even like for the audience listening, I think anyone can be RP, man. I think everyone grew up as a kid just like getting a stick figure or a car and just like, I don't know, even like just doing like with your hands, like running around and just like imagining a story in your head. I think people all have that. And I believe games like present that ground to do it. Like you can actually deject for a moment from your life, especially as a kid. I think that's why a lot of us like at our age or people just like in their 20s, like they just remember what MMOs meant because you could just remove yourself from that moment and just be something else in a different world with people that completely different hierarchy, completely different environment. And
Mhm.
that's special, man. But again, this idea that story is just at the center of everything, and you can really, I can
Yeah,
really feel it when you're
I think
talking.
I agree. Everyone can RP and people need to realize that like even when you just say hello and you wave and bow, it's something's just so simplistic. You don't have to be this crazy person that creates all of this like illustrious vocabulary and RP. Role playing is simplified to just taking the time to stop progressing in the game and to interact with someone in the world that's beside you. That's the magical thing about MMOs is that like role playing is very simple. Just a wave, you're already role playing. Just engaging with someone, questing with someone and saying like, "Yo, that was fine." That in on itself is role playing. You are creating this exchange of interaction with another person in the fantasy world. It doesn't have to be all magical. You're already in the magical world. You just talking to someone and interacting and creating that bridge of communication is role play. And when that creates a connection and someone that you might add on your friends list and whatnot, then that progresses even more. And then now you have more reason to play the game and continue playing the game. And so I hope people that watch this understand that you don't need a TRP3 or a full profile and it's all decked out like a Neopets shop or a MySpace profile. You don't need to have this backstory on your character. Role playing is as simply as just saying hello in the game because you're already in the magical world. And when you become vulnerable and you go and try to connect with someone, that and what it can blossom, you have no idea what it can. And if it doesn't, that's also totally fine too. It's just always about, putting that forward. And I think everyone can. And that just makes you get more and better and easier at hello and talking to people. And then next thing you know, you have a whole community. And then that's the role play. You having
Yeah,
a
man.
reason being in the game.
That these communities come out of nothing is incredible. Like you're just questing in some area in the world, and then all of a sudden someone pops up and you just do a bunch of quests together, and then someone else rocks up and it's like, hey, we should do a dungeon. And then, hey, oh, I forgot water. Oh, don't worry, I got it. These tiny little interactions that just feel so good because you're connecting with people. Even though it's like, I don't know, growing up, I'm sure you've been told, like I was definitely told, oh, you're just playing a video game. It's all fantasy. It's useless. I'm like, no. I'm actually connecting with people, and like we're trying to figure out challenges together. We're waiting for people. We're doing favors. We're um, teaching people how to play the game. I mean, especially when I was a noob as a kid, like it was having like someone help you understand the game. I have such a vivid memory of like a gnome mage when I was like a total noob at WoW, man. And she kind of took me from like Ironforge and is like, hey, come on the tram and then we'll go to Stormwind and I'll show you what the trainer is. And I went on this whole journey where she showed me stuff and then she gave me some silver. And I was like, that was the coolest, nicest thing like people have ever done for like it just felt so special. But again, dejected from the real world, not in a bad way, but like this can also be a world in itself.
100%. And that's why on our server, we do so many migrations. And what's interesting about the elves is that they're kind of cut off where they start from Tidrasil and then they can go to Menethil Harbor. But if they want to quest in Elwyn or Dunmoreau, they have to go through this kind of like dangerous trek. And so how you said like, oh man, this person showed me the way. They kind of guided me here. They traded me some silver. What we will literally do is we have people that haven't played the game in 10 years. We have people that are playing the game for first time. We have people that are coming back and they've never played hardcore. We do these massive migrations where we'll get like 2-3 raid groups and we all night elves just run through the world together. And then when we go and we hit like Stormwind, we all storm the Elwyn Forest human starting quest zone and all the humans are like, what the hell? And then we all just group up and we all just quest. And then everyone is just vibing and it's this sense of connection. I feel like connection is the new meta. And I feel like once people realize that it is about the connection in the game and not the actual content, because we can blow through content and we're super good at games. We're super efficient with all the information. We can get through content in a game. However, connection, that's the real meta. That's where when you log on and someone links you a weapon or an item that they get and that's your friend and you're like, oh my God, dude, I'm so excited for you. And then when you get an item, you have something to link someone in excitement, that feeling in exchange of being appreciated, celebrated, and cared for, that makes you go the extra mile. That gets you to log in, right? When I look at Halo 2 and Halo 3, fundamentally, and even Call of Duty, they're incredibly generic, basic games. Halo was a floaty first-person shooter, but what kept people playing? People kept playing for the connection because everyone was playing the game not for the content. People play modern Halo for the content, and that's why it doesn't hold the same way. It's still the same game, but everyone just plays it for the content of the game. Well, you can only play so much Team Slayer and Team Snipers nowadays, solo queue. The lobbies don't hit the same. Well, back in the day, what was so different about it? People got on Xbox and we cared for the connection. We cared for sitting in a lobby just to talk and flex our numbers. To sit in a Team Slayer and flex your rating or Team Snipers or BTB. We logged on to get on with people. We logged on to see the whole world map and all the total 1 million players online. We logged on for a connection, not the content. Now, companies create games for content and for players to go through that content. And then players can complain when the content is finished. This is a customer providing experience. I hope that the new dawn of MMOs that we are finally approaching, that players realize, and this is maybe a segue, and why I made the tagline, restoring the RP and MMORPG, many, many, many years ago. This has been something that I've wanted since the first dawn and rise of people doing guides and, Elden Ring drops and everything is find this sword, do this skip. This is the one shot when it should be something that you just explore and enjoy. I hope with the new dawn of MMOs that we focus on, it really is the connection. Like people would apply to guilds back in the day and it was this crazy experience and nail biting thing of if you're going to be able to get in and have a raid slot, and people cared. And I really think connection is the new meta. Like connection, because again, an MMO can be fantastic and the IP can be fantastic. But if the players are playing it to complete the content, they're going to burn through it so fast and then there won't be reason. We have over 2,500 night elves in 2026 playing on a complete dead server, playing. We have people dying at 60 and going again. We have people die and there's like a ceremony and people in guild chat are like, holy crap, you just died. I'm making a new character. We're leveling together. Completely taking off time for their main. In what reality would you ever get that on a mecha server in a modern game context? Modern game context is fast pace. What do I need? How do I progress? How do I get my bis? So I think, and then the thing is once you get your bis, a lot of times you are not wanting to, maybe you raid log, maybe you're done, maybe you level an alt just to speed run through another completion, uh, a little laundry list of things to do. And then you get there again and maybe you're done playing or maybe you just raid log. But the connection, I think, is the important part in MMOs. And I hope that the new dawn of MMOs, we go into playing it with that kind of stake in mind. And not to say that I don't want people to speedrun. I want Ampy to speedrun and go for worlds first. I want Joker. You need these people to do that. However, what we don't want is we don't want the guy that's watching as he's working and kind of has stream on his phone or on Twitch. Maybe he's driving home and he's listening to it and he's seeing all these things. What we don't want is we don't want that person to log in on launch day and feel like he's behind and feel like questing doesn't matter because he's seeing all of these other people do all of this other stuff. This FOMO, this spoiling. It's like watching an anime and getting the rundown of all the arcs and everything. And then you start the anime and you're like, well, I know what's going to happen. Why do I even want to watch this? And then I just feel like I need to catch up. So I hope that, and I'm trying to make a movement. And I think it's kind of crazy that I'm getting kind of feels like it's happening, showing people to relearn how to be a kid again, relearn to, when you log into the game, don't bring your work, your work mentality into it, right? Like I grew up with a single mom. She would come home and she would bring her work mentality into the house, into the household. And me as a son, I'd have to, help her decompress and go into a lot of the gamers be coming home from work and they're in that laundry list, the go mentality. And they go into the game and treat it like that when the game should be treated as an adventure, an exploration, way for you to make friends. We got to learn how to re-kid again, reopen up to being silly, vulnerable, communicating. Not to say you don't want to sweat. I'm down to sweat. I like to compete. There's nothing wrong with that. But at what cost? And also to know that your quest in Westfall is just as important as a world's first Molten Core. And that you playing at your pace and you getting to Molten Core 7 resets late is not the end of the world. And you can still do that. And yeah, another yap. I get lost in talking, bro. This stuff, I get so passionate.
Don't
Dude,
worry. I was about to say, man, I can feel it, bro. I can feel it across the screen. I'm serious. I have so much to add. I think for context, the MMO is like a snake eating its own tail right now. We've come full circle. So why was an MMORPG such a revolutionary thing when you had the Ultima Onlines, the EverQuest, the WoW, the World of Warcraft, the vanilla? It's because social media didn't exist yet. And so this idea that you could create this digital avatar and just go into this virtual world and connect with other people, like we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have WhatsApp, we didn't have all this instant connectivity. And as kind of the world progressed, the MMO kind of stopped becoming like this social media ground because people started diversifying like the way they would use media. And then, of course, the business model came in, which is like expansion after expansion after expansion. Oh, content treadmill. How do we keep making the number go up? Sadly, so much of this industry is just based around that. And there is no number go up for roleplay. Like they don't, there's no reason for a developer to want to incentivize that. But slowly people start burning out. Like I start burning out. Like you're sitting there playing retail or even playing like Classic WoW. And you're just like mid-maxing everything because at a core, my theory is that humans, I think, intuitively want to mid-max. It feels really good when you're on your 10th hardcore warrior and you know exactly the path you need to take through Elwyn to make sure like, oh, I should go kill the bears at level 10 because at level 9, it's still a little risky. I hit 2 and then 1 dazes me and then boom, gone, right? But I think over time, like you just, you want to connect with people. And I think the beautiful thing, I think for me, the coming moment that made me realize, wow, MMOs, there's something really special here. And if people were to watch my other podcasts where I've spoken to other MMO RPG developers or even streamers, I am so bullish on hardcore because hardcore makes the world come alive. Everything you collect is necessary. I get a speed potion in the Barrens and I'm not just going to pop it off when I'm in RFC. right? I'm gonna hold
Mhm.
that shit. Like I need that in case I die someday, or I
100.
meet someone and like they need help, right? Like and I want to help them because I know how much of a trauma it is to lose your character. And all of a sudden everything comes to life. And I think one thing that hardcore did, I want to hear your thoughts on this, is when I first started playing, it was an add-on. Um, and literally everyone was just self-policing each other. And like if you died, the add-on would result on, and you'd be like, all right,
Mhm.
I have to delete this character. But the cool thing was that there was this limit where you could only run one dungeon per character. So you could only go once into Shadowfang Keep. And like
Mhm.
based on the RNG, you might get the black robe or you might get the dagger. And if you didn't, it's okay because like through a story kind of version of kind of RPG, uh, I've done this thing once and maybe I got it, maybe I don't. But then when I go out into the world and like all you see around you, because it was a dead server, just like what you're doing on Skull Rock, everyone felt real. Everyone felt like they're going through an adventure, and it wasn't like they just grinded SFK to get all the gear that they needed to then look as badass as possible. Because that's not real. Like
Mhm.
that's not real life. And to me, hardcore, even then, but now, I think it just spurned this movement. And man, I'm just so crazy passionate about hardcore because once things are on the line, like even traveling to a dungeon and preparing for it and going to the bank and smelting your stuff and making your bombs and getting there and waiting for someone, like it could be a 5-hour session, but it all feels real and worth it. And when I'm playing
Mhm.
on retail or classic without that hardcore feel, it just feels less tangible. It feels less real. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I know for a fact that you guys are doing stuff on hardcore, and I just think that
Yeah.
has to make, yeah,
Yeah, hardcore is really cool. I really like the game mode. I was there right when Kargos first made the add-on
yeah,
and all those guys. I played it right then and there, and there was something so magical about playing the game and getting the green, and you're like, "Oh my god," or like you get a 6 lock bag and you're like, "Oh my god." And the thing is that what ended up happening at that moment in time is people played the game authentically, how we're playing on Skull Rock and how we played back in the day. People stopped pushing for min maxing and meta and they just played the game. There was no rush to the end. There was no end goal. There was no race to Nax. It was legitimately just, yo, guys, this hardcore thing, this is kind of a vibe. And people are like, oh my God, like getting a bag feels incredible. Getting this feels incredible. Now, as hardcore evolved, things have started to change. Min maxing has now seeped into hardcore. People are running around with double fiery. People are running around with full bags. People
yeah,
are running around using mailbox as an infinite bank slot. Now, what you're seeing is hardcore becoming slightly augmented. And I would add what's so magical right now is that World of Warcraft added a thing called sell found. What this does is it removes the ability of trading. No longer are you tempted from buying gold or using some sort of, oh, I played this character, I have all this gold. Let me now send all of these mats and gear to my new character and completely tarnish the experience. Because again, without me going into an absolute rabbit hole on, I can go for so long on why it is bad for you to send all your stuff to a new character. It just tarnishes the experience. And what's so magical about Self Found is that it is exactly what you said. Everything you get into the game is from you playing the game and experiencing it and experiencing with others. When an epic drops on Self Found, you know that it was dropped in the world, that you saw that item. It wasn't just, oh, Staff of Jordan in the auction house, yoink. You know that if you see someone with an epic mount, they grinded for that epic mount. And it it keeps the integrity of every achievement and every step. RuneScape does this absolutely phenomenally. They have hardcore and then Iron Man. And that's what we're doing right now on Skull Rock. It's essentially a hardcore Iron Man mode. Now, right now on Skull Rock, if you die, you lose your character. I think Self Found is potentially the next, in my opinion, the next way of maybe playing the MMO. I think Self Found keeps the integrity. We don't have to worry about bots. We don't have to worry about gold or anything. And you play the game as the game was designed to be played in all of its difficulty and its full abundance and experience. And you have that you have that feeling of when a green drops, when a blue drops, when you level up your professions, when you get a quest done. The Phantom Blade that I forged took over 50 hours to forge. I had to level up herbalism to 165, then drop it, level up mining all the way, then become a weapons master, and then get the materials in order for me to forge the Phantom Blade. And lesser moonstones, which was a material that you need, they don't drop anywhere other than like a 1% chance to drop off tin. So you got to go run around the world and do all these things. And what's beautiful is that's what you do in RuneScape. That's what you do in a horizontal MMORPG. Something that isn't just kind of like blast to the finish line, experience. Now you're done. This is like, okay, I'm level 40 and now I'm in Thousand Needles. And someone else is running by and they're like, oh my God, Shobek, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm mining some tin. What's going on? Hey, I'm going to go into the Harpy Cave. Can you help me? Yeah, dude, I'm so down to help you. And now Thousand Needles becomes a super important place for me at an end game level, and now allows me to interact with other players. So it makes zones have purpose outside of just their level bracket. And on top of that, it now creates social interactions. And so self-found makes people play the game. It forces them. There's no temptation. You can't use the mailbox. You can't use the bank. You can't use the auction house. By restricting people, you actually unrestrict them because now there's no temptation. They just play the game. And you'll realize that you kind of need people to do some things. And like you said with hardcore, which makes it so much fun, you don't want to die. And so now you're playing hardcore and you're doing things with people. And when gear drops or a bag drops or something like that, it is like, oh my God, but everything is so much more vibrant. Everything is so much more celebrated and everything connects each other. And that, in my opinion, is so important. Because when you look at any MMO economy, no economy in MMO's history has ever been able to be stable. No MMO economy. And it's so bad that companies typically just add a game coin. MMO's economy not being intact is more detrimental to the game than having no economy. And maybe that's my opinion. I don't want to just say a fact, but that is my personal opinion. And I feel like offering self-found and multi-life and allowing a player to not interact with the business sides that come into these video games with literally no care of what it does to the community, it would be, it's such a magic sauce. Like it really is. And like you said with hardcore, the feeling of having care for your character and dying and being able to potentially lose everything that you've worked for makes everything super vibrant, right? Every mob you kill, whenever your health gets low, it's like, oh snap, like tension starts building up, you start sweating and panicking, and it's that feeling of aliveness, right? It's that, almost being an adrenaline junkie. So I think self-found and hardcore is amazing, and self-found, like hardcore walks, so I think self-found could run. And
Yes, that's really good. I like that.
that's how I think.
In a way, also hardcore teaches you how to play the game really well. Like if you immerse
Yes.
yourself in your character, like I brought this up with Ampi, but this idea that like demoralizing shout, I think a big chunk of players don't really use it. But when you're at hardcore and you start like learning your spells and like taking everything really seriously, reducing the attack power on a mob means that like you're taking X% less damage, which overall, like you just start seeing the game differently because it's not like you're optimizing, but you're really taking seriously every mob fight instead of like just going in and just like heroic striking as much as you can. And if you pull 3 mobs and you die, it's like, oh, that's fine. Like I'll just resurrect, right? Like there's a different element to it.
Yes.
So what do you think about like hardcore teaching like your class, like becoming, I think a lot of MMORPGs, like the way you played is about expertise development.
It does.
Like, yeah.
But hardcore is delicate because it's kind of a different beast. I feel like what we see a lot of the times is people will get burnt out. Like the game will teach you a lot. But however, hardcore, for some people, it's infinite shelf life. Other people, it's a very, very short shelf life. Maybe 1 to 3 more, like 1 to 3 goes, and that's all they got in them. So like, yes, it will teach you. However, most of the time, players are going to be probably what is the best thing because they want to make sure that they're okay, while leveling and doing the right thing. I do think it teaches players 100%. However, it does end up having just like a short wick. I think for most people, like if there's a moment where it's exciting and there's like almost a movement going, then it's like this lively feeling. that's kind of, I think, where self-found is so powerful because it teaches you how to interact with the game, right? While also not necessarily super punishing you. RuneScape has it where if you're hardcore and Iron Man, when you die, you go from a red helmet, which is hardcore, to a silver helmet, which is Iron Man. And I think that would be something beautiful to have. I don't know how it would work, but having that ability to have Soul of Iron and Self Found, but you could play the game hardcore all the way through. But when you die, you get to keep your character, but still play and interact in the game in its full capacity, right? Not being able to expedite any which step. Because whenever you expedite any which step, you're getting closer and closer to the finish line. And typically people are done when they're at the finish line. How many stories have we heard of my guild's main tank is full bis and now he doesn't want to raid anymore? Like, what the heck? Just gave him all the gear. And so I think hardcore definitely teaches you, and it's super punishing, but it does teach you. I just noticed that typically most people would have like maybe a 1 to 3 go. But again, if you are a hardcore player, for some, it is their bread and butter, and they will not touch anything else. Because you're right. Oh, I'm just gonna take the death and we'll get a res up and we just move it on. You can just kind of like turn your brain off and then just move by inches and just by attritionally get through the game with like almost no development and no progress. And hardcore does blossom that, right? It does actually make you feel, how do I engage? How do I use my cooldowns? How do I properly disengage? How do I make sure I don't pull 2 mobs? If I do pull 2 mobs, can I kill? Do I not kill? All of these things player will start to be able to learn. So I do think both of them are really good. Like hardcore is a fantastic mode in the game.
It's interesting because a lot of it comes down to, like, I think if I have to take a wider view at this whole conversation, MMOs chased efficiency because the game developers and probably the executives thought, if we make things more efficient and we add a dungeon finder and we add these quality of life tools, people will come back. We'll be able to expand the audience. And then slowly, I think it became very apparent that what people actually missed was the friction. Like everything that we're talking about is friction, is difficulty, is annoyance. Like I can't just teleport to Darnassus and just get my spells and then teleport back and have a group of locks all over the world that are ready to summon me. Like, and it's a funny thing because, like, I think for a lot of people that don't understand MMOs, which unfortunately I think in a lot of companies have a lot of people sitting up there that just don't get it. They just think, no, let's optimize. Let's make sure that let's make sure that things are as easy as possible. And it goes back to Jalen Brack saying, like, you think you do, but you don't, when they were asking for vanilla WoW services. Like, why on earth would you want to sit in trade chat and just be bombarded with people just like screaming, looking for one more VC tank, then got to go, right? Like, and I just find it such an interesting, again, this whole full circle thing, which is what like the movement you're putting together, which is like, it is about the friction in a lot of ways. It is about connecting and empathizing with people about a shared friction, about a shared story. And in that friction, you create story. There's no such thing as a cheat code in life that tells you a story. Like if people completely circumvent a journey, like the hero's journey is not about cheating and going through it. The hero's journey is about kind of struggling, man. Right? Exactly. Yep. Just like figuring it out and then getting to that point, man. So I'm rambling, but
no, 100%. I mean, dude, if you're rambling, dude, I'm looking at chat. They're like, is this a monologue? Like Shobek doesn't even let this guy talk. I'm so sorry.
No, keep going. No, bro,
keep be like, this guy just doesn't stop. I had a talk with Taku the other day, and we came up with this line, and the line is, when an MMO disrespects your time, that is like actually the core. Like the MMO needs to not respect your time, because when the MMO respects your time, then the MMO is not respected and there's nothing to achieve. There's nothing in the game. And the whole core like identity of the game is just like catered to someone who doesn't want to log on, like people that want to log on and just message the warlock and instantly teleport, go to here, instantly teleport, instantly go into a dungeon. I feel like it's super important for the MMO to actually disrespect your time, because that is where that meaning is, right? Flying to the zone, feeling the experience of your feet on the ground in the MMO, and really being there is so, so important. And when you have these systems that kind of jump skip it starts with a jump, then it's a skip, then it's a doo-dop, and then next thing you know, we're just teleporting everywhere and there's instant portals. And we see that in Classic WoW. We already see it. We already see the game and players already honestly kind of submitting to this idea of retail WoW. All you have to do in trade chat, or if you're in Ogremar or Stormwind, if you type looking for enchanter, you will have automatic invite, automatic open trade. You can trade the mats. It will automatically know what you want. It'll automatically trade, enchant, and say thank you and accept the tip. If you say want to buy summon EPL, you will get automatically invited, automatically summoned, automatically open traded, automatically kicked from the group. You want to go to Silithus, anywhere in the world. You want to get your Dire Maul buff, automatically invited, automatically open traded, automatically your whole DM run cleared for you, library as well. So you can go to the auction house, buy the book, get a summon, go turn it in, get your trinket, done. No human interaction. Literally, no human interaction at all. But the dopamine is going off like crazy. Bro, I just got my trinket. Bro, I just got my buffs. Bro, I just got this. Bro, I just got that. All of these eyes. And guess what? Me leveling in 1,000 needles or shimmering flats, I'm not going to see you fly overhead. I'm not going to be entering Feralass and then seeing all these 60s fly to Dire Maul and being like, oh my God, that's going to be me one day. Dude, they're getting teleported in. You don't see any of them. And it's not about having the MMO where you get off work and you're flying for 45 minutes and you're not doing anything in the game. No, there are obviously some things that need to happen, right? Maybe add a Zeppelin here, add another boat here, maybe change up the flight paths, whatnot. But you want people to, like you said, have that friction. And it's this balancing act of friction and people being in the world and just crossing with one another, just communicating. Because again, every single time a player crosses each other, there is a moment for interaction. There's a moment for RP. And you don't know, how was it in kindergarten? In kindergarten, you just went up to someone and you were like, yo, you want to be friends? And then next thing you know, that's your best friend for like the next 20 years. You have any idea how it's that simple. We're playing a game. You literally just say, yo, what's up, man? I just logged on. You want a quest? It's so simple. And then next thing you know, you're playing the game with somebody forever. And so whether or not that happens on your first time or it doesn't happen, what matters is that you are creating the opportunity. And these teleports and these portals and these fast tracks, it all erodes that. And not only does it erode that and make it more of a solo experience from the player, you're also blasting through the content. So now you're just like done. Like you are done. People are hitting Molten Core. They're hitting like full BIS dungeon gear, Molten Core, fully buff. They get to 300. It's like 400 gold to get their professions from 1 to 300. They don't even pick up a gathering profession. They just open up profession guide. They buy the mats from the auction house, spend two hours just blasting. They don't even, I mean, it's insane. It's insane. And I'm guilty of it too. I do it as well.
Oh, same.
You know, we all, the thing is like you give a player an inch, they're going to take a mile. It doesn't matter. We've saw it with incursions. Players are unbelievably cannibalistic. And if the developers ever do anything in the game that gives them an inch, every player will always exploit every system, and they will exploit the system even at the cost of the own game they love. It doesn't matter. You just can't do these things. Players will literally ruin their own game that they love. And the things are not going to get fixed fast enough. So when you have all of these things that are like making people teleport and all this stuff, it's all temptation. And we are tempted with everything, doom scrolling, consuming content and just material things. We're bombarded with temptation. And when we go into a game and we're also bombarded, I mean, it's practically advertisements at this point, right? Why am I going to fly when I can just tell you, right? Or before when GDKP was saying, why am I going to tooth and nail for a guild when I could just jump into a GDKP? I can have a tank, full tier geared I ain't got to do nothing. I can just show up. I don't have to say anything. And so I think right now I'm seeing World of Warcraft change. I'm loving what they're doing with taking away the add-ons. I'm so excited. I know I see a lot of, negativity on Twitter about add-ons being removed. I pray to the gods, Classic Plus, aka Project Camelot, fingers crossed, they give us the treatment and there is a no add-on. There's a no add-on policy. And I even want to go into the depth of macros. Macros need to be completely re-regulated. Some macros are allowed, but macros need to be regulated. And like, I want the game to just be back to gaming. I want the game to be back to just you in a world. And if you're a mage, if you're an archer, or you are a warrior or a rogue, you are this fantasy and you go throughout this beautiful art expression that this gaming company has produced for you. And you have experiences with players and you have challenges with one another and you accomplish or fail and overcome, like you said, the hero's journey, right? It's not about a linear progression. It's about some days you log on and you get no progression. Some days you even backtrack. It's just all this craziness, but then it's the journey, not the destination, right? We always meme Classic Plus is the friends that you actually made along the way.
Talk to me more about plugins, because I think for context, I was the plugin guy at Old School RuneScape. So I tried to. I think that this is we're gonna have an interesting conversation. Not that I'm against it or for it, but I do think there's a great power behind plugins, because I think the community team of players can get together and build things that perhaps the development team doesn't have capacity for. And there's a lot of quality of life tools that I think are very helpful. But at the same time, I completely agree with you that it does take away from being within the game. Like I point to like the map, right? If you download what's it called, the add-on Leatrix, and also the fact that like Gatherer, right? Like where you can get all the nodes and it'll tell you like every single mining node you get.
That is horrible.
Right? Like all of a sudden, like you're removing the mysticism from the game, because it's like, the node respawns here, and now you get all these bots like timing it. So I just want to hear more of your thoughts on plugins, because I think that is going to be one of the contentious issues with Classic Plus and like with Camelot.
So,
like, what do you do with these plugins? And
plugins, I think the only thing that I like about plugins has been aesthetically designed, right? Like, for example, if you like, I think it was called like Eve add-ons, where like your health bar is a square, or if you want your health bar to like look different, like the cosmetic display and where you want things, like if you want your action bar more top, if you want your nameplates more centered or at the bottom, that I think is all fine. Anything that provides additional information at an ease, in a glance, that erodes player knowledge, player time investment, discoverability, for example, gathering. You know how long it would take for you to memorize all the Black Lotus spawns and rich thoriums? It would take you a long time, but that is earned. Yeah. Or you can go on a wiki and maybe look, but you're still going to have to like plug and play and remember on the map which way to go. In Arena, Omni CC, tracking your opponent's defensive cooldowns so you can be able to take advantage of any sort of misplay or weakness and be able to have godlike information being presented to you at an ease of access. And then whatever weak points that you are as a player, you can then feed a system that allows you to pretty much blindfold, put on blinders and ignore everything else, and then just either use audio or an information thing to pop up that will signal you for something to make you incredibly efficient. That's why World of Warcraft in Arena has struggled and has gone down over the decade, because players got way too sweaty because of the information. Now players are on point with DRs. They're on point with setups. They're on point with defensive cooldowns. What this does is it makes it so incredibly hard for a barrier to entry for a player to even get involved in the game. And every single step of the game is so unbelievably sweaty. The magic in MMO PvP is the intuitiveness and the magic in the mistakes. When you limit player information and you have to provide, like the player has to multitask in their brain multiple things while also communicating and coordinating, what this does is it makes it incredibly hard to play efficient. Human error is what makes things magical. Being too perfect and robotic is not. And add-ons make players too robotic. And when you have things so hard for you to execute and master, it makes the ceiling lower and it makes doing plays more rewarding. And so now, because there's so many more mistakes, the game is more intuitive feeling. It also is less repetitive. Something that we see all the time is repetition. So add-ons force repetition, and it actually erodes the soul and the lifeline of the actual gameplay experience.
What's the quest add-on that just tells you all the quests to do in optimal
The Great
order?
Arrow. So there's questy and there's like leveling guides.
Yeah,
and they will
exactly.
just use a Great Arrow. So people are just instant quest text, auto accept, follow the Great Arrow. So we have questing completely, just full brain numb. Like your brain is just off at this point. And now you're just being told what to do. So you're being told what to do. You have macros that are multi-ability in one thing. So now you're just pressing one button. You're following the Great Arrow. You get into arena. You have script macros, and you have laundry list of add-ons that you have to use in order for you to step into the arena, which makes it like you're some sort of stockholder dude looking at spreadsheets and looking at icons instead of the actual experience and interaction. Then you go into raids, and you're quite literally listening to a girl or a popping noise or some sort of stand out of fire thing, and you're just like, what is going on? Is it like spin it, bop it, twist it, pop it, lock it, drop it? What's going on here? What happened to going into a dungeon with people and just knowing there's a mystical dragon at the end of it, and we're going to have to do some crazy ass shit? There's going to be whelps left side, whelps right side. Handle it. That moment would have never happened with add-ons. That moment happens because people don't really know what's going on. But that's the thing. You earn what the dragon does. You earn through repetition what the dragon does. And you can watch a video, but you have to still go in there and show up and earn and learn those mechanics. Reward makes it feel more rewarding. You bond with the people that you do it and clear it with, and the gear feels way more accomplished and feeling of success and more bragging rights. But just showing up to a raid and just having like left side, bing, bonk, woo, 3, 2, 1. What are we on? We're not even playing an MMO anymore. And the numbers are like now the most focal point. And now we're just chasing the numbers. No longer is Onyxia anymore. We're just trying to parse. We're here to get a number. So add-ons have completely consumed the MMO. It has actually stripped the entire game from itself, and players are now actually just interacting with add-ons. And whatever the add-on tells you is what you're caring about. People care about your bislis, eye level. People care about your parses. You're not getting invited. People are following the Great Arrow. I don't want to take too long. I want to blast and get to the end game. Blast the end game. Focus on your parses. What's my eye level? Where's the game?
And do you think there's an sorry, I just wanted to say, do you think there's an argument to make that some elements of I can point to old school RuneScape, for instance, because I worked on the first time user experience. I looked at the early game, and like some of it was just so jarringly old. Like there were some quests that were just so difficult to understand, right? And I'm quite good friends with Zoinkwiz, who created Quest Helper, the plugin for old school, and like to the point where Quest Helper is like the #1 most downloaded plugin for old school, where like most players I've gone on Reddit will tell you I can't play the game without Quest Helper. And I completely agree with everything you said, like that it does. I think the word that I learned is diegetic. I think things that are inside an MMO needs to feel part of the world. Non-diegetic means it's foreign, it's alien. You're hearing a girl's voice or like 3, 2, 1. All these things don't have to do with the lore, don't have to do with the environment. And so I wonder, like, on one hand, yes, I completely agree with you. On the other, I think a lot of these MMOs, like we should have had a Classic Plus 5 years ago. Like we should have taken like this incredible game, and I think hopefully like something should. I'm not saying improve it in terms of efficiency or optimization. I'm saying keep that feel of the original dev team, but like make it so there are like the clues around that you can find them. And I think a lot of times in MMOs, I think a lot of players get frustrated. I think when I played old school RuneScape for the first time, because I never played, I couldn't figure out the game, man. Like I played World of Warcraft my whole life, and I get in. I'm like, how the heck do I do the chef's quest? The first one, chef's assistant. I was like, this is so frustrating. I have to go to like a mill and like create bread, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm screwed. I can't figure this out. So I think there's a balance here. I just want to be objective. I totally agree.
Yeah, for sure.
With what you're saying, but you know what I mean. There is a push.
I'd love to jump in. So
please,
RuneScape is an incredible exception because RuneScape is really deep, and first off, it's incredibly vague, and it's very intense on puzzle solving. So the questing in RuneScape is completely different than World of Warcraft's. If we're talking in RuneScape's realm, either two things. Yes, you add a quest helper, because even with quest helper, you're still trying to figure it out. And I did one to Questcape. So Questy, even in World of Warcraft, showing where quests are available, I think is good. Showing where exactly to go is a little bit iffy in World of Warcraft's sense. Every MMO designer needs to figure out where the line is drawn and does the experience enhance or take away. And again, competitively, being able to do a quest isn't necessarily competitive. It's not it's not going to influence the game so much. An arrow telling you where exactly to go is a little bit, but I mean, a step thing, they pretty much just put the wiki into the game, and RuneScape is very vague. I think the developers can either do, yes, we want to make Questy a thing, or you just evolve the quest to make it better. So the dev team actually fixes the quests, because maybe some of the quests were just poorly designed and they're not going back and fixing those quests. Quests can also just be worked on. Maybe just make the quest better. Maybe add another line of text. Hey, go up to the north. Or maybe in the scripture, because you can look at the scroll that gives you information, maybe you add a little bit more information. So you don't need the add-on, but maybe you just need a little bit. So why can't the developer look at what the community has done with the Questy and then integrate that into the game? I mean, I think that's an incredible resource and valuable to invest in. I mean, this is the player's experience. What else? I mean, are they just working on new content and letting the old stuff rot?
Well,
then the onboarding new player experience is kind of looking grim then. So I feel like the developer needs to they need to decide whether their game it's harmful or not to add in some sort of quest support. As far as add-ons I think are completely a separate bucket. But quest support, every game is going to gauge a little bit differently. Again, RuneScape, if you watch Guzu, bro, I'm not doing that. I can't do these puzzles. It is like way too over my head. I'm
opposite to Matt Season.
Yeah, opposite, exactly. For me, I like reading a little scripture and then like it will tell me where to go and I just kind of vaguely go and I explore and I find it. That I can do. You want me to do some 12-step puzzle and like stumble upon a dude that has absolutely no information that he has involved with the quest? It's just like way too intense. That RuneScape's questing is very intense. So,
dude, let me jump in.
Yeah.
Because I just have to add really quickly. Sorry. I thought about this so much because I worked with Zoinquiz to figure out like, let me ask you this. Let me rephrase. Is it up to the player to decide, like hypothetically, if we could set a spectrum for hand-holding, right? Like full-on hand-holding where everything is told for you. Arrow, location, shiny thing around the object you need to find, or everything is told for you. And then on the other end, it's like no hand-holding. You have to solve the puzzle. And there's like a dial, and that like maybe it's divided into 5 or 10 parts. If hypothetically that existed, is it up to the developer to set that limitation and be like, this is what we believe is the ethos of the game? Kind of like I think what you're saying by removing plugins. It's like, you got to play the game as we set it and everyone has to coexist in this world. Or is it the player that should be allowed to control the level of handholding? Because like you said, Guzu may want to kind of not solve the puzzles and get through the content, right? Like they just want to I don't want to make it negative like they're tearing through it, but they just want to get through it. While a Mad Season wants to solve the puzzles and go through the murder mystery and figure out all the little,
Yeah.
all the puzzles. So is it the developer or the player? Like, how do you see it in your head? Because I think that is such an interesting debate and something I thought so much about at Jagex.
I feel like it is up to the developer to create that, because when they're making the game, what they want to add into the game can affect and influence the game. And it could change, like you said. Does Mad Season, does he want to go throughout the entire game and like absolutely no handhelding, but maybe other people want to do handhelding? But that conversation, you have to now start saying, well, how do we want the person to quest in the game? And based on how you want a person to quest in the game, you have to then gauge. And we have over 20 years of MMO development. So you can have some quests in the game that are achievement based. Like, for example, some quests in RuneScape are so unbelievably difficult to do. And if there was no handhelding, they could be an actual accomplishment for you to do. Desert Treasure 2, some of the ones, I'm sorry, Monkey Madness 2 or whatnot. Incredibly complex quests for you to do without any handheld. Now, I think we do live in a modern day. No matter what, people are going to be online and there's going to be wikis and everything like that. So the information is going to be out there anyways. People are going to be able to blast through. However, I think there's a difference between you looking at a online source and there literally being a highlighted text tile on the ground and an arrow and also a line for your most efficient way that completely take, like there's a gauge level where it's acceptable. And I feel like the developer can say, man, this is kind of like, this is a little bit too cheese. Like it's really taking all the thought out. Like preset text tiles on where to go for boss fights, preset alignments, color things, all of these things. And so you as a developer, depending on the quest, I think you and how you want to quest in the game, you decide. Because players are always going to go max efficiency and they're going to make it as easy as possible. And then they're going to make it as easy as possible for everyone. And then when it's easier, it's not as much as an accomplishment. So you being able to do something in the game legitimately has this kind of feeling of valor. However, maybe not everyone wants to do that. But I also feel like that's okay. That's what also gives Desert Treasure back in the day its meaning. Going on the wiki and following all those steps, and it's kind of like poorly worded, and you're like, oh my God, what is going on? Right? Holy crap, I want my ancients. But like to get ancients was like a thing. Now we have rune light and the add-ons and the lining and go here, go there, little arrow on the map on like where to go. Desert Treasure isn't Desert Treasure anymore. It's not. Desert Treasure isn't Desert Treasure anymore. Quest Cape is not Quest Cape anymore. And I did it. And I did it with all the add-ons. So I think it's up to the devs. Players will always take all of the fun out.
Yeah.
And they're going to provide that to a player base because it's in their best interest, because they're going to grow. Because the guys are like, oh my God, I love it. I did it. And now you completely tarnish and erode the achievement, because now the thing isn't as difficult anymore. And like we were saying, the hero's journey, people would put down Desert Treasure. They would be like, bro, I can't even finish this right now. Now I blasted through that thing in like 2-3 hours. I did Monkey Madness in like one day, and then I did Desert Treasure the next day. That would take people back then. Not to say that we want people to struggle and not have anything, but I feel like limits. I don't know if I'm being, scrambling, but I think it's
you're right.
You
you're
need
right.
to limit the developers. They need to just understand if it's just shameless or not, and it's eroding the achievements. Because again, you want people to achieve things in these MMOs. So having a questie or an add-on that completely erodes the achievement factor, or at least some of the clunkiness of reading some sort of online post or video and trying to like, all right, dude, I got to go here. What the hell? What's this tile? Now they look at a video, either download the pre-tile pack or they just pre-mark the tiles. The magic in RuneScape for me was doing Caliphite Queen. That was always the magic for me, Caliphite Queen. When I played RuneScape again, I went to Caliphite Queen and I would just pre-mark tiles. Now Caliphite Queen is just getting underneath her and just pre-marking these tiles. Get to this tile. This specific tile bugs her out. You can line them
Yeah.
up. And
Boom,
now
boom, boom.
Caliphite Queen is no longer Caliphite Queen. She's a 3-click meme. She's a 3-click meme kill.
It diminishes it totally.
It diminishes. So the developers need to understand add-ons will always diminish. They need to gauge how they want add-ons or how they want Questy to be in the game, and they need to decide for themselves what feels fun, and what is good. And if a quest is just so blatantly poorly worded, maybe we go back and change it, or maybe we don't put that quest in. And so when I look at WoW's questing, way easier. It is not puzzle based. It's not really vague. It's go here. It'll tell you where to go zone wise or where to like go in that zone, like northeast, southwest, or whatever. It's very like simpled. That is just, you just let it ride. I mean, you can, WoW's questing is perfect. It doesn't even really need that much addition to it. Maybe just a map where it shows some quests in the zone if you discover every corner or something of it, where it's like, okay, now I can see where all the quests are in the zone if I fully discover it. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I got 2 things to add. I think when we keep saying, because I agree, but when the players take the fun out, like you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. I think there's a really good experiment. It's a classic one, which is like you have 2 mice in a cage, and like, or something like that, and they're like one of the water where they get like the drip water. One has like a drug inside that's like really addictive, and then there are 2 cages actually. One mouse is alone and has drugs, and there are 2 bottles inside the cage. One has kind of like methamphetamine or something very addictive in it, and then there's another water that doesn't have it. And in the other cage is a mouse with a family, with a community, and same thing. The 2 bottles are there, and what they found is that the mouse that is alone is going to overdose on the water that has the drugs inside because it's lacking that kind of community behind it. And the mouse that is with the community will try the dopamine water, but it's not going to get addicted to it because it's already fulfilled in a way. And I think this kind of beautifully ties to this idea, which is like, why do players like kill the fun? It's because these things are designed for dopamine, man. Like our evolutionary behavior is to hoard, is to gain power, to become stronger, to do things faster and quicker. Like we're wired for that because we used to live in the jungle. But nowadays it's like, no, it's not really that requisite anymore, but we still have these like reptilian monkey brains because like evolution has only been around for what? It's been around for, it hasn't, our hunter-gatherer ancestors were around like what, 10,000 years ago. So that isn't enough time for our brains to significantly change, which is like, I love thinking of MMOs in that way because I think that's such a good example of what you're trying to say. Because I think whenever we say, oh, the players are taking the fun out, it's like, we don't do it on purpose. Like it's just something that like drives people to do it. So I think it just adds to your point of what you're saying.
And then also too, MMOs, they're a social hierarchy. They're a sphere. They're like a microcosm of a tribe, right?
Yeah.
And so when you walk around with a Inferno cape, people are going to be like, oh my God. So you can earn status in these games. So when you add add-ons that simplify these accomplishments and allow people to get it, they're chasing status. They're chasing this, like, I want to be revered. Like they're seeking that illusion, being able to be at the top of this social hierarchy. And that's another issue with these add-ons, is that they are expediting and also like tarnishing in a way these achievements. Because like you said, you want to grow stronger and everything. Well, now you have social hierarchy in the video game. Well, guess what? Your achievement in this video game can now translate into real life. You can now make a full living off video games and accomplishments. You can have status, wealth, and completely change your life. So now it's like, we're going to do it by any means necessary. It's all fair play. I'm going to be the first one because I want to change my life. People make full livings being challenger rank in League. People make full livings being Radiant in Valorant. People make full livings being the top parsers and PvPers and whatnot. People make full livings. It changes people's lives now. However, that changing of the life trickles down everywhere. And so now everyone is playing as if they're putting bread on the table. And everyone is playing and just trying to, like, a guy that's playing 2 or 3 hours a week is now doing things that typically would take a person like a master or a master player who has invested a lot of time, I mean, they're getting there both. They're now both getting there. I'm not saying gatekeep content forever. I'm just simply saying we are constantly trying to make it so easy for the player with add-ons that it's actually so harmful to the scale of accomplishment, the reward structure, the social hierarchy of the game, and the barrier to entry in the game, how the game is played and influenced, how it even looks like. Have you seen people do mythic rating? Have you seen people do arena with all these add-ons? Bro, could you imagine that at a bar? No one's watching that. No one's watching that. No one is watching it. It's super tough to be able to stomach all of this information. It looks almost silly. And I've been playing games all my life, and I sometimes still struggle at what really is going on. And so I think there's beauty in simplification. Add-ons, in my opinion, are just you're game sharking the game. You're hacking into the mainframe. Anything that's adding competitive advantage, you want to remove. Anything that you want to move cosmetically, I think is totally fine. If you want your nameplate a little larger, you want it square, I think that should be available. I think there's nothing wrong with community providing feedback to a company. I don't know what is so hard for these gaming companies to incorporate add-ons, especially when these add-ons are being made by the community that are harmless and good. There are some good add-ons, but I mean, ultimately, it's a slippery slope. The company should know what is good. Like the devs should just know. Devs should know. They should have a very well scope. What is too much? What is too little? This isn't healthy for the game. This is okay for the game. And I'm on the side that like you just remove it all. I think add-ons are just atrocious. Other than being able to move stuff around, I think that's totally fine. But add-ons, you're just adding efficiency more into the game, and that typically doesn't do anything good.
It's tough, man. It's real tough because the genie's out the bottle now. You know, like players have come to expect a certain functionality, a certain quality of life, to the point where like if old school RuneScape players, like you speak to anyone, if they were to lose RuneLite tomorrow, like they're not going on the C++ client with no add-ons. Like I think old school, what you're describing is like an interesting situation there because I think the C++ client for old school RuneScape is great because there are some native plugins or inspired by the plugins that they found that they incorporated that made like really good quality of life sense. Like
100%.
some things are just so full of friction, right? How do you convince a player base? Yeah.
RuneScape, again, is an insanely unique scenario. World of Warcraft, no. RuneScape, homie, they need an update. Like RuneScape, bro, I wouldn't play RuneScape without 117. I just wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't even play RuneScape. We made an add-on that created a health bar in the top, and we created like a nameplate. So I could like have like a WoW character portrait. I wouldn't play the game without that add-on. There are things in RuneScape that I think need to be evolved. Like RuneScape at its core, fresh out the box, is almost, it's, in my opinion, I hope I don't get rage for this, it's unacceptable. RuneScape's out of the box is unacceptable. I think it needs like a whole, hey, look at RuneLite. Again, I had so many add-ons on RuneLite that just actually made the game playable for me. And there were some things that were just tailored. I will absolutely agree. But there were fundamentally things just like this needs to be added to the game. RuneScape is an incredibly unique situation because it was like a web browser MMO, right? It was like you log on to a freaking website at school, you can go play RuneScape. You don't have to have like actual CDs slid in and you have to like interject 4 CDs to download a game. RuneScape, how it was built, and when I met the devs, and they're fantastic people, and I do love RuneScape, it's tough. It's tough. It's a very old engine. It's tough to do things. And so when these games are so old, they do have issues with being able to integrate. But like, I look at RuneScape out the box, it needs add-ons. I think just RuneScape is interesting. RuneScape is very, very unique. RuneScape is a very unique instance and not typically my MMO. So like for me, whenever I'm talking about all of this stuff, it's kind of like more QWE, over the shoulder, generic, or like the typical MMO experience. RuneScape is very interesting, especially with it being a click to move. and how clicking in the MMO influences how you actually quest and adventure in the game. These are all different dynamics, and that MMO interacts completely different. And when it was actually made and still running today and being incredibly successful and is an amazing MMO, out of the box, a new player without add-ons, they're probably like, what the heck is going on? Like, there's just, I couldn't even imagine a player authentically getting in and hearing their first response to some of this stuff. So I would love for them to see that. I would love for RuneScape to incorporate RuneLight and be like, dude, we need to just whole new thing. It's a whole new thing now. That's what I would like to see.
And if we move to WoW and we think about Camelot, it's an interesting situation now, because obviously you've had WoW Classic, you have a generation of players that are used to certain plugins, you're having their questy, having, you name it, gather, whatever you want to kind of put in the game, like from cosmetic to kind of gameplay guidance and information, blah, blah, blah. Even people who PvP are like, I can't PvP without Omni, right? But now with Camelot, there's this situation now where like, or not even a situation, it's an opportunity to reset. But how the hell do you get that right? Right? Like
you force them. They're going to be so angry. I see it
That's
all
what it
over
is,
Twitter. Yeah. Everyone is like, mini CC's bugged. And again, like you have to, like, it's a literally like you think you do, but you don't moment again. And now it's the player side. The players, like, I'm telling you, dude, the MMO, I don't think Riot is going to fall into 7 or 8 rows of buffs. And then like you having to filter out like 3-second buffs, 12-second buffs, find the one buff that is like the offensive cool. Like Riot's MMO will not have those issues.
Yeah.
I don't think Riot sees all of this, right? Trendemir played in OnlyFans. Like he's been seeing kind of like what people are gravitating towards. I feel like we need a great reset, and WoW is going towards it, and a lot of people are going to not like it, but it's so needed. And I think it's going to be one of those things where some people might actually quit. However, I look at it like an iceberg. MMOers, there's a massive iceberg, and right now all that's left is the tip. And these are just people that just are going to play an MMO no matter what stage they are in their lives and no matter how the game is. Below the water is this massive dormant community of MMO players. And I swear MMOs it is about to happen. And so right now, the tip of the iceberg, there will be players that will probably quit the game and never come back because it will no longer be their game. However, with the Great Reset, there will be an usher of like millions of returning and new players that will like the game and that will find it like, yes. And there will be some players that will be like, man, I missed this, but they're still going to play. But then they're going to be like, oh my God, wait, this is actually so much better. And then it's going to be an afterthought. I think there's probably a very vocal minority that are like truly, truly hating these changes because they thrive off of it. Their entire gaming experience is based off of these add-ons. You're quite literally removing these players' arms. Like the way that they move their character and they look. I remember seeing a comment on Twitter. They're going to be like, wait, so we actually have to like look at the character animation? What the hell is this? It's like, what? So the thing is that there's going to be growing pains with everything. It's like a lobster. I think we're molting right now. The MMO genre is molting, and that doesn't come without stress. We are too big for the shell. We no longer fit this old way of playing. This old way of playing has to change because it's not a way of playing the game that is going to be played for the next 20 years. It's just not. This way of add-ons influencing everything, this way of optimizing everything, this way of speed running everything, this way of like selfish gaming. And it's going to be tough. But I think, again, the iceberg, there's so many players waiting to play the game. There's so many players that played vanilla WoW, and then they see all the Warlock summons, they stop playing. They see all the bots, they stop playing. They see 1 green in the auction house is 15 gold, they stop playing. They see a potion is 20 gold, and they want to just play the game normally, they stop playing. They see everyone GDKP, they stop playing. all of these erosions, they see everyone blasting and not talking, they stop playing. All of this stuff influences the immersion of the world, right? Again, we want to get into a world that's connected. When we talked about Halo before, like we want to feel connected towards something greater. It's not about me being a paying customer and going through the content that you're providing. It's about me opting in, whether I'm paying or not, to be a part of an experience, a global experience, a shared experience. And that shared experience is a phenomenon. And that phenomenon is something that pulls players together and want to play. Like, we're having a wedding in our guild. People just got married. We're having an in-game wedding. Moments being shared, people being part of a guild and having a moment, a dungeon wipe, whether you're hardcore or not, a dungeon wipe that was funny. Leroy Jenkins. Are you kidding me? You think Leroy Jenkins, stuff like that happens? Leroy Jenkins is a augmentation of funny moments and disaster. If you did that in today's modern day, you might get name dropped in a Discord, blacklisted, yelled at, called a griefer, all of these other things. It's like almost no one, everything is an insult, a personal attack, because everything is fed for the customer. Every step, no one can step on my toes. And if you step on my toes, if you come ungeared, if you come unknowing, that's a shame on you. You're slowing me down. I want someone better. So I think there needs to be a great reset. And it's not necessarily the player's fault. In my opinion, it's corporations have been involved in all of these decisions. And at the end of the day, the gaming stopped being gaming very early on, and it stopped being gaming very, very quickly. And it became now more of a, how do we get someone to just stay subbed, make them kind of more okay with just playing the game, completing the game, seeing the game. Not to rant.
No, you're
now we
on.
have LFG, all these different tiers of rating. You can be at any tier and kill something. Onyxia no longer is Onyxia, right? Because now you can go in Onyxia, turn your brain off, and experience her. She's no longer an earned experience. You descending into the cave and seeing the sleeping dragon, you get to see that no matter what once you hit endgame. That being provided is such a privilege and an entitlement. That entitlement wasn't earned in the old ways of gaming. You were kicked out of Halo lobbies if you weren't high enough level. You were kicked out and that would make you usher in like, dude, I want to prove myself. You were not invited to guilds if you didn't have an epic. Oh, you don't have an epic? Go grind dungeons until you get one. We don't invite people until you have an epic. Everything was earned. The right to experience was earned. Ragnaros, Onyxia, Cthulhu, KT. There was no guild on my server that killed KT. Only one guild got halfway through the spider wing. Things were earned. Content was unconquered. Content was unconquered. The idea that developers were going to make content in a game where majority of players are never, ever entering. I'm not talking Mythic Plus, because you and me, we can jump up and go kill whatever Mythic content's at, or LFR, or whatever the raid is. We can go see it all. The only difference is another 10 item levels, maybe a recolor. And with the new system, you can power up your item to get the next tier colorway anyways. So where is really the sense of accomplishment here? Where's the bragging rights, the social hierarchy? Where's that fire? Where's the sense of adventure of earning the right to descend into Onyxia's lair? Keeping bosses one level, one difficulty, either yes or no, cascades so much like a river, just so many rivers down into where you first start your character. And I just feel like kind of got lost because I'm on the tangent, but I feel that there's something in what I just said. And this great reset, it needs, people aren't going to see it, but many will. And I feel like many will, and they're going to love it. And you're going to see this recultural kind of phenomenon of everyone being like, dude, wow, where MMOs are back. Holy crap. Because that is what we want, right?
If it's approached the right way, man. Like why is vanilla WoW so highly regarded when we think about all, because like WoW's been around for a long time, all these different worlds, everything. Why is vanilla WoW still? We're coming back to it, and it's because the devs, when they approached vanilla WoW, were trying to build a world. They were not building a, I don't want to say treadmill of content, even though Outlands was incredible and there's some incredible art, and Wrath of the Lich King was insane, and like we could go through the expansions, and there are a lot of talented artists, a lot of talented developers, a lot of talented story writers that did a lot of great work. But it has to be approached as you're building a world. And like you pointed out, I think truly correctly, in a world, not everyone gets to do everything. Sometimes only the greatest get to beat KT. Sometimes only those get to Katoon. And that creates an aura of mysticism, of legends, right? That makes it feel real, that like you are this small character, but if you play and you kind of learn the game and like you just explore it your way, but you rise up and you meet people and you go into guilds and you learn and you go through again the hero's journey. Maybe you have that shot, bro. It's very Tolkien.
Yes.
Like there's a beautiful thing to it. And I hope Camelon gets approached as a world.
Yes.
I truly hope they take it that way. If they approach it in a way that's like, oh, we have to please everybody, then this reset will fail. Because right now we have 6 different versions of WoW or whatever it is that they have just like threw out there, and everyone has their flavor.
Yes.
And that's going to be the tricky part. I want to believe you, man. I want to believe you, because I will fly so far into Camelot. I will fall in love with it again.
It is a big it's a big bank. I mean, I get goosebumps. It is the great reset. And for a lot of us, like, we love World of Warcraft, and the idea of like not getting, I say this all the time, this is crazy. Camelot, this is insane. Camelot, what we get will be the first ever World of Warcraft expansion without flying mounts in the game. There will be no previous flying mounts. There will be no achievement, maybe 3 or 4 months down the line where you get flying. There will be no flying mounts. And it's going to be the first expansion where we're probably not going to just be ushered into a bottleneck ecosystem, like a little new zone where we just inhabit this new zone and forget the old. This is the first expansion where we are expanding on the actual main character, which is Azeroth. We've never gotten that before, ever. That's why this is so important, because this is kind of like what CS did for a long time. CS knows that it's a great game, and it just tries to fine tune, like sharpening a blade. World of Warcraft, every single expansion, they were like, okay, we made a sword, let's try to make an axe. Okay, this expansion, now let's try to make maces. Let's see how good we are with maces. Classic Plus, or Camelot, is the first time where they're just saying, we're going to make this sword again, but we're going to make it better. And that is what's so exciting, because Classic WoW is not nostalgia. Classic WoW has cohesive systems that involve players in a harmonious way that is far exceeding any other MMOs, in my opinion, any other MMOs. But like, the systems in the game are so harmonious. It is literally so good. And to amplify, complement, refine those systems and have a great reset, we are not going down Wrath, Kata, all these things, and maybe having a different lore, right? I mean, holy crap, dude. Holy crap. This could be something that just we play till I'm 40, 50. It's an insane opportunity to just reset it. Reset. We've done 20 years of add-ons. We've done it. 20 years of add-ons, 20 years of this way of playing, and this is where it's led us. Let's at least just reset and go this other path and see what happens. And I hope they take the risk. I hope they take the risk. I hope these do these things. I love MMOs, and I want MMOs to be at the top of Twitch. I want it to be the top. I want everyone to play MMOs. I want the kids to play MMOs. I want Jinxie to be freaking maining MMOs. I want everyone to be playing MMOs. MMOs are so incredible. It unites people. It's like a freaking sport, dude. Yeah. And when I was younger, watching MMOs and it being the top on Twitch, and it was the cat's meow, bro. It was everything. And to get it back again is all I want. And that's what we do. We're restoring the RP and MMORPG. That's what we do. We're literally trying to bring it back. And right now, we need the developers to have the confidence in knowing what makes a good MMO, putting their foot down on some things, hurting some players probably, but letting them confident that like, yo, this is going to be a good game. And Classic WoW or Camelot, dude, they have it. They have it, man. They have it. They have an opportunity. And it could really show a lot. Like, it could really change. So I'm very hopeful and I'm very excited. I've been wanting Classic Plus since I was a kid. I didn't play TBC. I went back to Classic. I went to private servers when I was a kid. We made our own, like my friend group, we would make our own little fun private server, and we would like create our own little Ragefire Chasm, and we'd like go and do our own little like fun thing. I created tier sets. I was like going in the vendor and designing stuff. I love this idea of being able to go back. I didn't like the flying mounts and I didn't like TBC. I just went back and I played vanilla. I played vanilla all of my life. All of my life. I played vanilla more than I played retail. I would play like a little bit of retail, but then I would just always go back to vanilla. There's something about the systems in this game, the feet on the ground, everything. So them being able to do this is unbelievable gift. And that's another thing too. I want to just yap. I'm so yappy. It's insane.
Keep going, man.
I hope everyone, I know a lot of people, we have this like typical like, oh dude, Blizzard's going to mess it up. But bro, what an unbelievable opportunity that we are even given this chance, because they did not have to give us any of this. They didn't have to. Like, people are waking up in the morning and working all day long, stressing, trying to, meet deadlines and do things. People are putting passion in it. And by God damn, we are so lucky to have this chance. And we're so lucky to have Guild Wars 3 happening. We're so lucky to have Riot's MMO happening. We're so lucky to have people that are investing millions of dollars in their lives and their time. Instead of playing games, they're developing. And we are so grateful to be given the opportunity to play this. And I hope they do it right. And I hope I think there's enough information out there. I think there's enough private servers that have been successful. There's enough creators that have been vocal. There are people like you that are constantly interviewing and getting words out and picking part ideas. There's a lot of information. I hope they gather it all up. They stitch it all together, and they create a good MMO.
Yeah, man, I think
yeah,
we can't forget the people that build the games, the devs. If I think back at Jagex, all the incredible mods, these are people that put their blood, sweat, and tears. And I've seen levels of burnout everywhere. Like, you see it online, you see it in stories. It's a difficult industry. And what I truly hope is that I think the higher ups learn that like just making number go up and being risk averse, because what we're doing with MMOs, like the whole evolution of it is just how can we keep the number just going up as much as possible to the point where we degrade the game, or what can we do to maintain the status quo? And like what we're talking about with Camelot, with Classic Plus, is a reset opportunity, but it is a risk, right? It's a risk. And kind of the funny thing at the end of the day is if you make a game good, paid players will play it. If you improve a game, make it better, make a world feel alive and real and social, players will play it. That's why Vanilla WoW was such an incredible game to begin with. And I just hope that if we just keep talking about this with players, like you streaming and being so vocal and passionate about it, and everyone who goes into the industry or just wants to comment about it or just wants to play, like we have to keep reminding what I think is very big business, that like just following the status quo and avoiding the risk and trying to make the number go up is the worst thing you can do to a game. If you make the game good, I guarantee you players will play.
And I think they'll make more money from it. I think they're focusing on how do we make this number go up in this way. But in actuality, it takes a player to have a lot of knowledge to understand game feel, understand concepts. So first off, the developer has to be a gamer and have to have gamed a lot of games, then to be able to see the magic and all of these different social dynamics and spheres, then be able to go into the workplace instead of being a gamer or whatever, then go into that workspace of being a developer, work up the ranks, and then be able to be as someone who can even say or influence decision making. And that is really hard. And it's just really, really hard. And I don't know if that is there. I don't know if that is there. Do you think that that is there?
Dude, the level of passion that I saw from people working at Old School RuneScape
Oh
was
yeah.
incredible. I believe me, the mods there, the people I got to work with, I worked closely with Mod Ash. I can speak to a ton of mods.
Mhm.
The CMs, bro, they love the
But
game. They
yeah,
live the game. It hurts when things go wrong, man. Like it is
yeah.
cataclysmic, and there's just a lot of love. And I think whenever we talk about these MMOs, and maybe like on Twitter we're toxic towards mods or CMs or people that are just putting their all in this game because they believe in it. I think we got to take a step back and remember, like,
100.
there are decisions that fly over these guys' heads that so far that even when I worked there, it's just some things are beyond my control, and it kills you. It kills you because
Mhm.
you come in wanting to, because it's a world, man. It's not a business, it's a world. And I think as we progress, and I think we're in for a wild ride in terms of like where gaming is heading. And like if people were to check my channel, I do try to explore it. I do really try to understand what the future is, because there's a lot of freaky stuff coming out, man. There's a lot of like game-changing things that we have to approach correctly, like from literally generative AI, which is like a crazy tool, and like it's hard to believe that like gaming
I'm
studios
so
won't
excited
use
for
it.
AI.
Right? Oh my gosh! I
I,
thank you for saying that, because I think we
I'm
should
very
be excited.
excited.
We should be excited, and we should be careful, but we should be excited about it, because I feel
Yeah.
like people like you, GTA roleplay, bro.
Mhm. I've never done
G-
it, but I do know. I got
let me
invited
explain.
sometimes, but I haven't done it.
Let me explain the incredible thing about GTA roleplay. GTA 5 came out, and a group of modders basically got together like a couple months after the game came out, and they broke it apart. They took Los Santos and they're like, all right, let's get it out in C++, and let's start creating assets. Let's start getting into the game's source code. Let's add a metro station and a functioning airport and new cars and new things. And they just started building stuff on top,
Mhm.
to the point where GTA Roleplay emerged as this MMO, except it wasn't massively multiplayer, but it was this online role-playing game where people would sign up and you can be a cop, you can be a medic, you can
Mhm.
be a politician, and you live in this shared world. Exactly what we're talking about. When I see the things you do on World of Warcraft, what I see is a reflection of the human intuition to roleplay, which has happened so much in GTA. And
Mhm.
these roleplay communities are #1 on Twitch. They are
Oh yeah, I
incredibly
know.
entertaining.
People want me to do it, but I have to have a sword and be in a fantasy world. It's just not
That's
my aesthetic, but yeah.
I think your RP is going to come with this. I really
Yeah.
hope, if Blizzard's listening, they got to give you the tools to create these RP environments, because the storytelling that comes out of it. Like, I spoke to someone at Rockstar, and what they told me is they see GTA RP as like the HBO of gaming, because of the storytelling that comes out, the
Yeah.
stuff that you're doing, man,
Mhm.
with your Machinima editor. I forgot his name, but I want to give him a shout
Witcher
out,
5.
because there we go. Dude, that stuff's the future. Like
Yeah.
anyone can be a character, be a hero, be a villain, be the heel, and it
Mhm.
just gives me goosebumps, man. That's what I'm in it for. I think the Ready Player One future we're heading with MMOs, I think it has everything to do with roleplay. I think it has everything to do with people immersing themselves in a world, creating
I
relationships, but we have to approach it as a world,
I
man.
think I get that vibe after the World Soul Saga. Holly did this interview and she said, Chris Metzen, it's like written. It's like Chris Metzen sometimes regrets calling it Warcraft. And I get this weird vibe where Holly was also talking about evolving World of Warcraft and the franchise. And I think my suspicion is that WoW retail is going to be either name changed after the World Soul Saga, and they're going to evolve the way an MMO is played. So they're going to take a risk, jump skip or something with retail WoW, and that Camelot will be old school traditional MMO. And then I think that Ready Player One world where, I don't know, maybe there's custom servers, right? Maybe you can create your own Azeroth and you can join custom servers where you have that like Halo Forge stuff. We already see these micro servers being created with your neighborhoods and player housing, right? We're already creating these like micro worlds where like, well, what's the next step of that? So I think WoW is also in a really unique position where they can do two things at once now, which is
Yes.
really, really cool. and it could turn into like a GTA RP for retail. And because a lot of the stuff is relatively, simple accomplishments where you can create this personalized an expression, and then you can kind of, do as you will. And I'm very interested to see what they do with retail, because after World Soul Saga is also a very, very big chapter. Like Blizzard is coming up to a phoenix moment, both in classic and in retail. There is a phoenix moment happening,
100%.
and I think that's incredible to really, really see, especially because I grew up with this game since I was 9 years old, right? I've been since 2004, and I chose my life to be this game. What an unbelievable moment to give myself to a video game and see this company kind of, rebirth, right? For the better or worse. There's an opportunity, there's a rebirth. So yeah, there's definitely really cool stuff with AI. I'll just jump in with like one thing that I love the idea with AI is I would love for AI to be involved in NPCs, and the NPCs to track a player's a player's behavior and then augment their rewards or like opportunity. There's an anime called Shangri-La Frontier, and in that anime, a random quest pops up for the protagonist. So imagine like if you go to a quest and it's like, go kill 8 boars and give me like 8 boar meats. Say, for example, you over farm the 8 boar meats and you bring back 12. The quest giver would actually accept 12, even though he told you to give you 8. Because you gave 12, he's like, wow, you actually did way more than what I expected. Thank you so much. Maybe it changes the reward. Maybe there's a follow-up quest. So now every person that goes into the world interacts with the world in a unique way. You can go to an armor smith, and based on you giving 12 meats to the guy who asked for 8, well, guess what? The weaponsmith, that's his brother. And he heard that you did that for his family, and he now sells a different weapon. Or he says, hey, you did this for me? Go get these resources and I'll forge you this sword. So now AI can completely track and list and spur off unique questing and rewards for a player. And that also, in conjunction with playing with other people cohesively, like in a vanilla WoW landscape, people are going over here for this, people are going over there for that. Oh, and now you're seeing like all of these different kind of harmoniouses coming together. And now you don't even really know what is the script. And the script is that every player's experience is different. And this AI can kind of create things and unfold new adventures and differences, right? And
Yeah,
that completely changes the questing and adventure in the world that has nothing to do with endgame. And we haven't even talked about what it can do with endgame. And that is a super, super fun combo.
I want to add quickly at the same time, the blacksmith, because you brought that person more of the quest item. I think the important thing is that they might not give you extra stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to feel like real life. I think
100%.
MMOs, as soon as they start reflecting, right? Because again, we go back to, I'm not saying you said this, but I think for the audience who's listening, you can't have it that, oh, if I bring more stuff, then the monkey side of my brain's like, all right, every quest I do, I'm just going to collect double the regents or double the quest items, and then I'm going to get extra bonus, and I'll be very happy. Sometimes it doesn't happen, man. And maybe that 1 in 10, 1 in 20, it's like, I'd love for you to meet my brother. I have this sword that I've been forging, and and boom, you're on a quest, right? This is the stuff that with AI, I think everyone freaks out because it's like, oh, everything's going to be generated. Everything's going to be soulless. It's like, no. The possibilities expand to the point where like you watch like movies like Ready Player One or you read sci-fi, and it's like, I think games will completely transform. We need to be aware of it. We need to know when it's good and bad, but at the same time, like we can't ignore the fact that what like stuff that you're saying can make a world feel alive to the point where like the stuff that we know in WoW, it's a static world, man. Every day you log in, and Stormwind is the same. The guards are doing the same path.
Yeah.
And the players make it dynamic, and there is an understanding of like, to what extent do you want the world to be dynamic? I want to segue really quickly. When I played hardcore, I thought one of the most exciting things, it was pretty much griefing, but whenever someone would take the dragon from Redridge and bring it to Stormwind, and all of a sudden you see in chat, dude, dragon, everyone run, and everyone's like hiding, bro, and like trying to get away from it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of an MMO that comes to life. That shit just happens out of nowhere, and you're like,
holy crap.
Holy shit, I gotta stealth out, bro. Or like I'm a druid and I'm gonna cheat away. Or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. sometimes WoW, you look at it, it's so static. And I've asked CMs who've like worked on Star Wars and stuff, and I've asked them like, what do you think? And they say, look, the static world is great because it's controllable, because you can provide a solid experience to the customer, like you're saying. But I think what we're heading to, and what we've talked about this whole time, is this idea of building a
Well,
world, and a world is
that was, I
dynamic.
think, an older idea because that wasn't discovered. Now that we know, when a new MMO comes out, everyone's so good. Everyone has their bindings, everyone has their builds. Abilities will typically be similar. It'll fall in some sort of MMO, slot, right? Stun, that's going to be my 4. Like things are going to be very, very similar for the most part. So I feel like back then creating that structure was important, but also back then it took people like, 50 days to get to endgame. And sometimes endgame wasn't even the main point. But now what you have to do is you have to, like we're talking about with the blinders, give a player an inch, they take a mile, all these things. You now have to say, well, how do we get the person who is so good and so evolved? How do we get them to play the game as they once was? And you need to create systems that create that kind of untold story, curiosity, and an adventure. Because if you create the static, like we were just saying, they're just going to blast through point, done. But if the game is designed to throw you off course every time or here and there, well, the player has to now go do that. So now it goes like point, left. Okay, off the beaten path. We're going over here now. And so it's about letting that player go through that playthrough and creating the systems that supports the player to act in this adventurous way. Because again, just providing the content, a player isn't going to stop and smell the roses and like look around. They're going to just get to the next destination, right? It very rarely is someone going to slow down willingly. Obviously, there are people that do, including myself, but most people, if provided point A to point B, I go. I do. I'm not really going to look at anything else. So it's important that you always think about how players are going to play the game. And this off the cuffness is the future. And that's where I'm excited about AI. I think AI supporting systems and evolving, like for example, Skyrim, you've seen the fully AI Skyrim NPCs.
Unbelievable.
Unreal, right? So add that on top of quest rewards, on top of whatever the end game. I mean, it's insane how you can really have this real world start to unfold. And we're also getting closer to VR, and I can't wait. That's a whole nother topic, but dude, there's just so much cool stuff, man. I yap about this all the time on stream. I'm so passionate, dude. I freaking love MMOs, and we are finally at the era of like all of the big houses are making the big names again. They're all trying to restake the claim of like the next gen MMO. And what a good time, dude. The dawn is here. The dawn is here.
Back.
And I want to just say thank you so much for inviting me. What an incredible talk. I definitely am just very happy I was able to be invited, and people want to talk with me about how I feel about MMOs in the industry. Cause dude, I love everyone. I love everyone in this space. And I just want us to flourish and this new beginning and this reset. And I'm just grateful to have the opportunity. So thank you so much again for having me.
Dude, thank you for the opportunity, man. I had a blast talking to you. I've been wanting to do this for a while. So
thank you.
Yeah, dude.
I appreciate it.
Awesome, yeah.